Welcome to the DevReady Podcast. Joining me on the DevReady Podcast today, I have Natalie Tran. I haven't met Natalie before for those of you that are new here, so we're going through this journey together. I'll let Natalie introduce herself and who she is and what she does.
Thank you. Hey, Anthony. We have met each other through the DMs on LinkedIn,
very
right?
little.
So, yeah. So it's great. It's great to see you live. I am a transition coach, and I coin it that way because I cover helping people go from a 9 to 5 into another 9 to 5 into a portfolio career and sometimes into a business. Actually, many of the times they end up going into a business as well. So I help others transition into the next phase that has a lot of purpose, that has a lot of, so mainly mid-career people that end up going down that transitioning path. And I've been doing that for the last 9 years or so. I started off as a pure career coach, and as they say, business evolves and things evolve, and now I pretty much help others with that transition side of things. And my background's in finance, I just shared with Anthony. I started off as a chartered accountant, worked in many aspects of accounting along with funds management type of accounting, ended up working in more of the side of funds management where it's not accounting anymore. So I branched out into finance, and then I wasn't happy. And this, I guess, is the start of our story for this podcast.
Yeah, so you work in an interesting period of people's lives, which is generally career to career, they're going to go vertically and just move up the chain, or horizontally, which is shifting from one business to the other, but a like for like almost. But you're probably getting people where they're fed up with what they've been doing, looking at going to a completely different industry, or going out and branching out on their own, which is probably the scariest one, which is going to be a consultant or starting their own business.
Yes, that's right. And I view it as like a scaffolding. If you think about when you're building new buildings and all of that, it's not always vertical, is it? Like you can't go vertical unless you've done the foundations. And so I specialize in that now because I realize, especially post-COVID, things got pretty crazy. And a lot of people realize, wow, my one source of income is looking pretty scary. And how do I increase my chances of having more income to provide for my family? But also thinking about, I think COVID sort of like got a few of us to think about, is this what I really want to do? Mm-hmm. And hence I sort of like really went in even deeper on the transitioning side. And so I deal with all of the fears and doubts, and you see a lot of my content on LinkedIn is about overcoming fear, overcoming starting and all of that. That's the hardest part. And then the next part is how do you stay on that path without quitting?
And that would be a difficult thing for people to do, especially if they've been in their career for a long time, like they're 10 to 15, 20 years potentially. So it's a lot of ingrained habits they have to overcome.
Absolutely. And I do have a few sort of Gen Zs and younger people as well that realize very quickly, I don't think my education has set me up to do what I actually want to do. So I do get them as well. But yes, you're right. There are a lot of habits, a lot of sort of mindset thoughts around what is success, what isn't success. So we start off going right back into reflection. And I never let anyone sort of like just go like that because I know that, when you slow down, that whole saying, that whole internal stillness, reflection, all of that will help you quantum leap or make you leap faster externally later on.
Okay, so what got you started on your journey to get to where you are now and help you make those leaps?
Absolutely. Well, my family, we're immigrants. My mum and dad were refugees here. And so when I was going through school and all of that, we can only really pick professions that looked really stable, right? If it's not medicine, if it's not law, then maybe accounting and finance. So I sort of went down that sort of like that tax law and accounting side, majored in that, and got into the top 6 consulting firms back then with Deloitte. Mm-hmm. Loved many aspects of it, but as I finished my chartered accounting and as I started to move along the corporate ladder, I tried to move laterally as well and go, okay, if not consulting, commercial accounting and all of that. So I tried a number of different things and then I realized you know what, I think I'm in the wrong industry because it's really not giving me that fulfillment. And I can't explain it now. And then I went into finance, into sort of the more Wall Street kind of role in funds management, where I was more middle office, and that felt a bit more comfortable.
Okay.
And still wasn't quite right. So then I thought, I'm going to make a leap. And I decided to maybe do some recruitment. And at that time, a big recruiter reached out and said, hey, would you like to go overseas? And we'll sort out everything for you. And they saw the potential in me being a great recruiter in the finance world. I did that. But unfortunately, it didn't work out because it was at the time of September 11th where the world kind of collapsed during that night, right? If you remember back, and people remember many different things. I was packing my stuff, remembered I only had one TV left that I was going to drop off in the morning. Like, we spent the whole year packing up all of our stuff, selling the apartment, all of that, and thinking we're going to be gone for a little while, taking the risk. And in the morning, and I thought, okay, we didn't receive any phone calls overnight. It's all good. Plane tickets in our hands. In the morning, we went to the airport pretty much. I was so efficient. I even was going to drop off my car to the buyer at the airport, right? So on the way, I received a call from Michael Page, and they said, hey, Natalie, I'm really sorry, but because of what's happened, your contract's been rescinded. And they gave me like 10 seconds of airtime on the phone for that rejection. So I talk about rejection to all my clients a lot, right? Yep. And that, you know how you go numb? And you're like, okay. And they said, you don't have to hop on the plane anymore. Just tear up the tickets and go home. I said, oh, that's nice, right? Took ages to digest.
Yep.
And then they hung up and I couldn't call back, right? I thought, wow, they gave me an airtime of like 10 to 15 seconds for that rejection on a major life decision I've made the whole year. And they knew that I did all of that. So that then led me to go back into my little cave. And, and back then, September 11th means if you're in the finance world and you're unemployed, not a good thing, right? And then my hubby also resigned. So I was like, fantastic, both of us in limbo ladder. He's also in commercial, but not so much finance, the funds management, but in commercial finance side of things. And so we spent like a month in actually first we had to call the buyer and say to the car buyer, you don't need my car, let me just take my car, right? So that was the first thing. And then we went back into our apartment and said, okay, we can't rescind this contract, but let me buy some time. So we said to the buyer, we said, can we just sleep in our apartment for like another month or so? And that feeling when you're completely humbled, right? Went to, Aussie Disposals at the time, bought some air mattresses, pumped up the air mattress, slept in an apartment, no microwave, still nothing. And we survived like that for a month. And if you remember back then, no smartphones or anything, right? We literally had 2 laptops and off we went on. So I think that month, even 2 months or 3 months, was a lot of reflection. And then I had to really put on that hat of where do we go from here? And we both decided that we're reeling a little bit. And this is where I questioned myself. I said, should I have made that pivot and keep going? But the fear was so great, Anthony, that I said, okay, you know what? Let's go back into finance again, rebuild our stability. And we did just that. And so that's my first pivot. And
that's sort of like a pivot, but you went back to what you knew because
you
could move quickly with that.
But what I knew.
But you could move quickly. You had the experience. It was something that wasn't going to then take you another year or two to settle in and understand how it works and get to that point. So that's a really shit hand you're given on the way to the airport, really. Awful. Like, I can't believe, after all that, and then you're at the airport practically on the way, and you get told,
literally on the way,
just go home.
With air tickets, like with plane tickets in our hands, and it was very poor on their behalf.
I wonder, what they thought you had to do with it that they cancelled your contract.
really poor. And that's why when I help my clients, around their career transitions and they complain about recruiters, and look, there'll be amazing ones and there'll be ones where it's just the way it is, right?
Yep.
They
you're
get
just
paid
a
a
number
certain
to
way.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. They get
they're-
paid a certain way and they just do whatever they need to do.
Yeah, their job is to just fill people in seats, and then they get a commission from that. Most of them, that's how they operate. So you're either a number, or you can get someone who cares, and you'll notice them straight away. They'll stand out from the rest.
Yeah.
So-
I won't get into all the sort of the stuff we did, because we thought they owed us a better explanation, and we just got ghosted, right? But we did a few things, and all I can say is lucky that didn't exist in the world of social media right now at the moment, because
Yep.
when someone ghosts you like that, there's a lot of things you can do, right? That could really damage a brand. We didn't go down that route, but back then social media was not like that big kind of thing.
Facebook was just
so we did
becoming-
letters, wrote letters and all of that. But we weren't even looking for any crazy compensation. It was just a bit of justice, right? Or a bit of fairness in what happened. But then we moved on as well, and I won't get into the details of that. But we pretty much moved on and got back into that. And then the second pivot happened when I had my kids.
Yep.
And then my kid and it still wasn't right. And I stayed in finance, and I kind of sort of like was okay with it. And in the backdrop, I was setting up side hustles. I started a jewelry business, and you can tell when an entrepreneur starts to come out and all of that. And then I decided to then just go, you know what? When the kids came along and I had my second daughter, and I decided I need to draw that line in the sand, right? I do not want to come home to my kids. I felt like I was dividing my time still. That whole part-time world in finance didn't really work, to be honest, right? So I decided to really draw the line in the sand and make that move. And that's when I just woke up and I just resigned.
Oh, well.
Put my letter in and said, this is now or never, and just resigned. Yep. Didn't have a plan B, actually. But I think deep down, coaching was always something I loved. And hence, it wasn't like a difficult decision. I knew where I was going. It was just more, didn't have the roadmap.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you just needed that moment to just say, all right, that chapter's closed, start the next one.
Yeah.
So is that where you then is that what led into your own coaching business?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And so I was so burnt out, toxic environment, a few other things like that. And so I decided to do a Pilates and yoga sort of teaching course and all of that. And I started teaching that because I really wanted to coach someone from a mental perspective, but also understand all the physical side of everything that makes a human a human.
Okay.
And because I'm a bit of a nerd as well, and I love learning. So I went in, deep into learning about all of that. I did personal training course. I became a master trainer level 1 with the Australian Institute of Fitness and all of that. So absolutely loved it. So still finding my way, learning other industries. So going from finance into the wellness industry is completely different. But I loved it, right? I loved that diversity of people that I met every day. And then from then, I started breaking into the coaching industry. Yeah.
Okay, so the people you're working with, I'm sure there's going to be a variety of like different backgrounds and situations and positions and everything that they've been in. Is there any sort of common threads on when people want to make that transition?
Yes, there are some common threads. Usually, similar to my case as well, a deep misalignment that you've either put up with or you say it's okay, like you justify it, right? But you wake up and you go, that feeling of like, meh, here we go again, right? And I hear that pattern a lot. There are some who are just aspirationally very driven, want to try different things and know that they can do more. And then the third is just around their purpose. And I know it's a very big word thrown around a lot, but it's around I can make impact. I know that I can help others. I had a bit of that inside of me, and that's why I wanted to change, away from that sort of very numerical sort of career into the human aspects. Doesn't matter how much you provide advice around finance and all of that to your client. It's different, right? It's different.
Yep.
It's different.
Well, that's the same probably the accounting and the finance space. It's all numbers driven. If you're an accountant, you're doing the books or accounting or tax documentation, whatever you're doing for a business, but you're not dealing with people. You're just dealing with the numbers
different.
and what's happening. And there's no human element involved. And same with finance. A lot of it's going to be trading or different deals or whatever it may be. But then again, people aren't involved unless they're negotiating something. And then it's either I'm going to win or you're going to win. They're not there to assist each other or drive each other forward, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. You know that saying that they, different roles offer different fulfillment aspects. And so when I hear my clients talk about what they want to get into when we explore that, I always say to them, coaching is not for everybody. Business is not for everybody as well. And you can have a portfolio career, which many people also love that because I know that I'm deeply creative. I mean, my brother's an architect as well. I'm deeply creative. And even during COVID, I was setting up styling pages on Instagram for fun and things like that. It was just, and certain things remain as hobbies. That's fine.
Yep.
Or side hustle, or sometimes the hobbies also allow you to earn as well. This is the beauty of living in the digital age, right?
Yep.
And money's money, right? If you can earn something while you're enjoying it, it's actually amazing, right?
Yep.
And I sort of, a lot of the mindsets around that. And so, those are the patterns I hear. And then there are those that have been suffering a lot. It's almost like, oh my God, I'm so unhappy. I did this for my parents, whatever. And it's an obligation thing. I need to look after my family. And I think that mindset's very strong actually around, I can't leave what I do because I need the money. And so that's where I help people, because with my background as well in finance, we do budgeting, we do all of that kind of stuff.
So
and we go, hey, it's
plan.
it's doable. And you don't have to leave completely at the start.
Yep. So my parents are migrants as well. They arrived in Australia a lot earlier than like 1967.
Yeah.
But being around family and all the people in that circle,
Yeah.
that obligation, like you mentioned, your parents wanted you to have a very high profile career that was stable.
Yeah.
Having that probably obligation to the family feels to me like it's more of a migrant thing in the way people were grown up in the villages or wherever they're from. It's very different, I think, now, these days, with how everyone understands things to happen and you need to go out and do stuff, or you do want to support your family if you need to. You also don't want to have to go to a job where you're hating it every day and loathing going in and doing that and then waking up and going, shit, I don't want to do this, but you just have to.
Yeah. And we, like, life is short. I mean, we hear that all the time, but I say, 40 is not old. You can still have an amazing, fulfilling career if you start at 40, 45, 50. I mean, you've got some amazing businesses that start in their 50s, right? People that start in their 50s around what they do. And there's a misconception that you have to scale big. You got to do these crazy to feel successful and all of that. And I always take people back to go, what does success mean to you? Is it just freedom? Is it just on a Wednesday, just to have a day off and do podcasting or whatever, meet other interesting, it could be anything, right? Or, being able to do more than one thing as well and make ends meet and more, because I think that fear is so big. And so I help people with a lot of that mindset, because the mindset is the thing that holds people back so much. I went through it a few times, like the fear becomes so big, and if you don't work through it, then you will go back to your old thing.
Yeah, and that's, the mindset is everything. It's always that. It's, you have these preconceived notions of how things need to be or how you want them to be, and then when they're not the way you planned, potentially, depending on what sort of person you are, that can be a debilitating thing, because now you're anxious or you're nervous and you're just, every moment you have is thinking about, why is it not this way, or something's against me, the world's against me, or I deserve more, rather than, if that's what I want, what are the steps I need to do to get to that? And just have a different shift. But it takes people a long time to have those breakthroughs. If they can have them on their own, that's amazing. But that's where people like yourselves would come in and have
I
that like
wish I took on
external,
a coach. Yeah,
yeah,
I
a
wish I
third
took
party
on a coach at
perspective.
that time. Yeah, absolutely right. I wish at that point, if I took on a coach, I think I was just so overwhelmed that I thought, the fear was too big, and let's do what we know, right? And
Yep.
I was good at what I did in finance. So, sometimes you pivot not because of ability and all of that capability. It's more around what is it you want to do, right?
Yep.
I know there's some memes around that question, but yeah. So really go deep and ask yourself, is this something that you can see yourself waking up every day for the rest of your life, and life is short, and you're happy with it, and that success definition for yourself is really important. And you know what I learned as well, Anthony, during that time, even though I couldn't overcome the fear to keep going and build another business or get out of what I was doing, what I learned was my resilience got tougher. And I'm thankful for that time where I really dug deep and learned about all the resilience tools and things that kept both of us going at that time. And one of the things that I say to people is, when your role's made redundant, when things happen to you out of your control, you need to ensure that you keep doing as many things as possible in your day that feels normal. Get out of bed. Like, don't stay in bed. Get out of bed, go exercise, have a walk, movement, eat well. All these daily things that you do every day while you're going through shocks and change and all of that will really help build your resilience. Day by day, you feel it,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, so it's not big shock then to your actual system, let alone your environment with how you operate, conduct yourself.
Yeah, and that's, things like, Mel Robbins, she has a book out that's called, the 5-second rule. Exactly that. Count down the morning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed. Don't overthink what I'm going to do today, what's happening. My mind is flooding with thoughts. Just go about doing your, and of course, seek help, if you feel like it's too much. But yeah, so that's one thing that really helped me as well, with building my own coaching things later on down the track. So sometimes these big changes, even though they don't give you the result you thought they would have, but they have other benefits that really benefit you in the long run, that you go, oh, that's why, that's why I feel okay about things now.
You need to take everything as a learning experience, not it's a roadblock and the world's
Not
out to get
failure.
you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Something happened. It didn't work the way you expected. What do you learn from that? How do you move forward? That's how I approach things in our business. And then in life as well. I don't worry about the things I can't control, because there's no point thinking about those because I can't influence them.
Yeah. But sometimes easier said than done, right?
It is. Oh, definitely. It definitely. I just don't give myself time to think. So then I can just keep going. But a lot of the audience that we sort of target on this podcast is non-technical people, like non-tech founders who are trying to build a product, or non-technical people in business looking at building software. So for those people that are in sort of like that career change and umming and ahhing, whether they don't want to stay what they're doing, take a risk where they've been working, they've had some savings that they can bank off, or like long service leaves coming up and then they can give themselves 3 months to try and test something. What are some of the things that people can do if they're going, all right, I'm at this nexus point of, do I stay or do I take the leap and try and start a business and go out on my own and consult or whatever it may be? What are some of the things they should try and consider in moving in that direction?
Oh, great question. We could be here all day. But yeah, the first thing is like go back. Again, sit down with your coach or your mentor and all that. Really sit down, list out your values again, list out your strengths, go through all the options, and hopefully land on, do a mind map even, right? Do a mind map. Okay, so I'm sort of taking aside that, someone has some funds to sort of start, right? I always recommend a minimum of 6 months salary, right? And map out, imagine you are the tree in the middle, map out about 8 branches, and then research each of those branches, right? And then land on 3 So it could be one could be a ghostwriter, right? If you're thinking you're great at writing, that's your strength and all that. Another could be you might have a product that you've designed, and then maybe something else similar to like coaching or something. Some people have very varied stuff. And then go deep into each of those and research, right? Research, look at the options. So don't attack all 8 branches because, you got to have a couple of things humming or the first one before, otherwise things will drop. So just say you go along the route of becoming a consultant to write for others and all that. Go and research that. Research that with your support or your coach. Look at ways that you can earn right away. Like it doesn't have to be, I'm going to wait for a year before I earn that, right? Look how you can earn right away. Look at your list on your phone that people can reach out right away and all of that, and test it out. Do pro bono as well, because the idea of doing something and doing it is very different as well. Some people start doing it for free and they go, oh my God, coaching's awful, Natalie. It's like, there's just like, oh my God, I'm dealing with everyone's problems. And so, and then you get a feel of like, okay, maybe that branch was not as strong as I thought, right? It's a bit like us studying, right? And then we go and do it.
It's a cheap way to test it.
Yeah. And I go, there are so many ways you can test it and start with warm leads. People that you could coach if you want to be a coach, for example, right? And while you're researching, also research certifications if you need it. Does that thing you want to do require that? Licenses, budget for those. So these are all the practical elements that I help my clients with, right? So it's not just one thing. Depending on what you do, just say you want to become someone that is a scuba diver teacher. Well, you got to pay for all the training first and all of that, the license and all that. That's number one, right? So certain industries have certain things that require
certifications and qualifications you have to have. They're probably, the way you're explaining it, they'll be like a phase 2 thing for me to test. Phase 1 will be what can you just start testing for free, like you said, if you really enjoy it, because then that'll give you the quickest way to say yes or no.
Yeah.
But the other ones, if you're doing scuba diving coursing, you maybe take 2-3 months before you get to the point of saying yes or no, and then you qualify and then you don't like it.
That's right. And then there's also, like, that's why I asked people to have 3 options, because while you're doing all that certification for diving, I'll just go with that example, there might be something that you're also amazing at that you can earn as well. It's great to have bread and butter money come in, right? While you're doing, just like how I was teaching Pilates and yoga while I was learning coaching, getting accreditations, network into the industry and all of that, right? But I was teaching Pilates and yoga, and it worked with my schedule with my young kids at the time, right? So teach in the morning, teach in the evening, got the whole day to do your stuff and still earn money. Ended up being more than 20 hours a week at one point.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of opportunity now to have a way to earn money, I think, now compared to there was previously, just with the digital economy that we have and all these different services. Like, really worst case, you could be an Uber driver. Which isn't a difficult thing to get into, from my understanding. But then there is, all right, you can start side hustles, or there's different things online and start consulting or start training courses, or be an influencer, YouTube. You can start that. They do take a long time to turn into something, but you have to start to get it to the point. Yeah. Otherwise, it'll never get there.
That's a great point, Anthony. Sometimes people go, I'm going to do this massive business plan, blah, blah. And I said, okay, before you embark on that, let's test it out. Before you invest and pay for someone or do it yourself, like spend 3 months on a business plan and then go, now I'll start, right? Sometimes just opening up social media, open up an Instagram page or LinkedIn or a business page on LinkedIn and just, start it. Yep. Because that is momentum already in your head. Your mindset starts to go, I can see, and you can start to connect and learn about keywords, and things take time, right?
It does. You just have to put the hours in on certain things.
Yeah,
to get
even
enough
little
knowledge
things like that.
To link it all together.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a certain career, you're not going to be exposed to a lot of the things that you need to do, especially if you're going out to being your own consultant or as a business. You're going to have a lot of domain knowledge and expertise in a certain area. And if you think of that as a business, say there's 15 components to a business, you may be really good at one,
Yeah.
have a bit of background knowledge on two or three, but then the others you don't know anything about because you've never been exposed to the account side, the HR side, the payroll side, or whatever it may be. So you're going to have to take time to learn these things. It's not that easy, but there's AI you can lean on now as well. So you've got these experts in your pockets that can, you can just ask questions and get feedback on top of what you can provide as a coach, as an example.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many things you can do that starts the momentum for you and start to get to know the people as well in the industry, you know, like, some of my first clients, and how fun is this? I was in fitness and all of that when I was changing. Guess what? My first coaching offer was helping out my fitness peers and all of them. I was helping fitness businesses and trainers and all of that get to know themselves through profiling better. I had an ex-golfing professional that I did some profiling for and all of that, right? And that was my first offer. And then I remember going out to the city, just hiring a room, you know, back then when there wasn't like co-working space as much, just hiring a room and just running the session there. So that was my first, and I thought my first cohort would be finance, right? But this is the interesting thing about being an entrepreneur is you don't know where things take you, right? And because I chose to be in the fitness and wellness industry as a start, and I learned how to coach people physically. I remember going back to learning yoga, and I taught aerial yoga, as in like a yoga in the hammocks in the air. Yep. I realized, wow, that is hard. Like taking someone through that without them landing on their head, you know, like the danger. And so when I did the career coaching, it became really easy. And when I was facilitating, so everything enhances your skills.
Yep. Yeah, you need to be able to draw from all different areas of your life to put solutions together. I like to, that's how I design products for our clients. It's the more I can understand about different things and how they operate, the more sources we can draw from to create a better product or create something that they may not have thought about because it's different to their industry, and we can bring in outside knowledge, which is what you're sharing there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this person in this corner is a visual learner because everything I'm saying audio-wise, they're like getting stuck in the hammock and they're like, you know, couldn't move and, you know, and so I then had to go and demonstrate and go, hey, this is how it visually looks like. And then you've got those who are audio, and when you do it visually, they're like looking at you going, could you repeat that again? You know, so this is all the stuff that you learn, right, on the go. And then I ended up having a fitness business too, because it wasn't a 9 to 5, I had my ABN, I had all of that. I was invoicing 5 or 6 different studios. So, I started like that.
Oh, wow.
So I learned how to manage. Luckily, I sort of know my tax and the way things work because I was in finance and all that. But I started becoming like a business owner in a totally different way, you know, like I was invoicing, different studios and different rates and negotiating hours and classes and weekend rates and all of that, right? Part of business.
Yep. So if anyone listening wants to reach out and draw from your wealth of knowledge and all your different expertise that you had, how can they do that?
I mostly live on LinkedIn, Anthony. So please, you know, come. I'm so happy to receive a DM or a connection from you. And I also, in my featured section, I have some great free stuff. I've got a free transition roadmap, which I wish someone did for me when I started, right? And in there, I take you through, you know, making sure you know your strengths, your values, have the budgeting. I've got some budgeting stuff in there as well, some formulas. And it takes you learning your niche, all of that. So I've got some free stuff you can download, first of all, and reach out to me. I also offer 20, 30-minute strategy session. And again, in those, for those that have gone through it with me, they'll tell you that I really do want you to walk away with a couple of strategy points that you can do. And don't be scared. It's not like a sales pitch or anything like that. I've been, you know, doing this for 9 years now. So I really want to give back as well. I knew how miserable I was. So I love it that I can now. I can impart all of that because I absolutely love what I do, Anthony. And I'm so glad that, you know, I'm not that glad to go through some of the, you know, the major stuff, but then in hindsight, like people say, it's what makes you who you are.
Yeah.
and how you
And
help others now.
you've gone through the trenches. There's nothing worse than a consultant or a business like coach who hasn't run a business or gone through those steps to advise on what to do.
Yeah,
Having
yeah.
Speaking to you now for the past half an hour, you've gone through it, you understand and you care, and then that's going to come through with all the different experience that you've had to try and help someone and give them a successful start in the next phase of their career.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I've loved being here. I'm also on Instagram and trying to start YouTube. See, we're all still learning and
We are.
all of that as well. So, yeah, and I'm pretty much a learner. I still learn a lot every single day, and you never stop learning.
Correct. That's the motto I have. We'll add all of those notes into the show notes so then everyone can access that. It's been a really insightful chat. So once again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you.